Hey everyone, this is Chrissy with Tackling the Giants. Decided to divide this video up into two parts. Part one is going to be more of an educational, informative part. And then part two is going to be where I really make the connections that I believe are undeniable. However, I think that part one is fundamental to the information so that you can see how I'm linking the two. So this one's called The Confusion of Mystery Babylon, Mark, and Tower of Babel. And you can see I have some pictures there of the Tower of Babel, what it's typically shown to look like, and how it resembles the middle picture. And then the right side is just how the middle picture works with instructions, with messengers, and how it's transcribed, and then what you end up with, okay? And we've kind of gone over that in a prior video. Okay. So in some of my other videos, I've gone over, and if you haven't watched those, I would suggest that you do. I have I believe it's 3 videos that I've done recently on this. I've done other videos regarding this information as well. You can kind of just go through. I have a playlist called End Time Prophecy, and I try to put all of these in there. And then there was another video that was my original Mark video, and that's going to play into part 2, and I'm just overwhelmed with that information, which I'll share with you guys in part 2. But I believe that, what I'm going to go over today, I feel like it's going to be undeniable regardless, but if you have all of the information that I've already shared with you, this is just like the icing on the cake. This is just like, when you put it all together, I don't know. I feel like it's undeniable. I feel like this is going to be confirmation for everybody. Okay, so in some of my other videos, I've gone over how the word Babylon means confusion, and how Babel, as in the Tower of Babel, can be interpreted as the gate of God. I've also shown how the Tower of Babel resembles our code, and I've also gone over how it's linked to Jacob's ladder, with angels, also known as messengers, ascending and descending upon it. I've also shown how God's name is imprinted or transcribed upon our code, and how this represents his instructions for life, for the life of the flesh is in the blood, and how the tzitzit resembles our code and is a reminder for us to keep the instructions, the Torah, the code of God. So the instructions are the word of God, and therefore it's also linked to Yeshua, who has angels ascending and descending upon himself, which is the door, the ladder to God. So besides the actual resemblance, I'm now wanting to go over the importance of the Tower of Babel and how it relates to the confusion of those who have had the false messengers or false angels, the false light, enter their life. Okay, and you can see on there the other word, B-L-O-O-D. So first, I want to start off with some educational information that I believe is critical for the whole of this message, and then we'll get into the scriptural basis of all of this and how it all ties in. Okay, and I told you guys that I decided to break this into 2 parts in case something happens to this first part, okay? Okay, so I had someone named, her username is Psalm9394, and she emailed me some information. And you can see that article there if you want to go to that website. And I will warn you that the person that writes that article is pro what we're going to be talking about here, okay? But it's very informative. So I'm not going to be able to read all this, but if you want to go to that website, you can read through the whole thing. I did put some information on here that I think is going to be important, just so that you can see basically what I'm trying to get at. So she's talking about the source code, right? So this here is apparently the sequence, okay? And when we have, this is normal, okay? So an A goes with a T, and a T with the A G with a C, and a C with a G, okay? So those are the only ones that we usually have, okay? Now, when it comes in, well, there's this one, this messenger. A T goes with the A goes with a U, a C with a G, and so on. And then it transcribes, and then it comes out to make these individual that come together. That's just a poly, so they're linked together. Okay, multiple of them linked together is the poly. Okay, I'm trying to get the message across, but also be careful. Okay, so what they say is that this type of this, okay, has this code that's digital. Okay, so what they did was someone literally uploaded this code to this type of printer. There's actually a printer specifically for that, and I'm going to show you a picture of it, okay, because it's on that website. And then they converted it to bytes on a disk. Or, I'm sorry, they converted the bytes on a disk to actual code, as you would say, molecules. Okay? So this is a picture of them doing that. This is apparently that code printer or what machine, whatever. Okay? So they explain, like I did in my prior video, that this is a code that's digital. Okay? So they say, computers use 0 and 1, and that immediately reminded me of this here. So I just have this picture. This is the Abraham Accords coin. And you can see what's here, right? Which is what we're talking about, right? And then you can see these zeros and ones. And that reminds me of the computer coding, right? So that's what that it uses. So, but life code doesn't use the 0 and 1. They use what we just went over, the AC and so on. And then T can be interchanged with U. Okay. So that's like what I showed you here, where sometimes it says T, but it can be interchanged with a U. Okay. All right. So basically, what it's trying to say is they're both code, and they both send a message. It's like software. It's instructions of what to do. Okay, so that's the point I'm trying to make. Okay, so now this is all off to that side. Okay, so it says that what it does is it has this material that's code, right? That's not natural, and it makes you make this. Okay, so it manages to get this code into these things. Okay, so it makes you start getting these, like I told you. Okay, and then your body, it makes a response, realizing that they're not natural. Okay, and they start to work against them. So that's supposedly how it works. Okay, so we know that this guy here, okay, who's a high guy with this certain company right here that you can see, he said that the way that they work is by, whenever you're trying to get into a computer that you're not supposed to get into, you have to go in a certain different way, right? So this word, that type of a software, and this type of software is related to life, right? Okay, so this is what they called it, literally the one for this. Okay, so I ask, is this why this guy, with that last name of Gates, is that why, he's a big into software and stuff like that. Is that why he's now into these types of things? Because that's what they're looking for, is for the code being written, right? So it reminds me of Yeshua talking about how he's the doorway to the Father, and that if anyone else tries to get in any other way, then they're breaking in, they're a thief and so on, right? There's one way, and they're trying to get in. They're going in a different way. They're making it. They literally have to make a certain thing to where it'll go in, because normally your body would prevent it from happening. So that's why they call it this, okay? Because they have to trick your body into allowing it. So it says, that life consists of these, and they're converted, like we talked about translation. So I'm not going to go into all of this right now, but what I do want to tell you is that I'm going to have some of these. They're in these gray boxes, and they have these letters. And you can see one of these Greek letters here, okay? And what they're saying is that normally there are these letters that we already went over, where you can also be T normally. But we find this little guy here instead, okay? And one of the reasons is because they have to do this, right, that we just talked about. They have to change things and trick things, okay? So in order to calm your body, or trick it to be able to accept it, okay? And that's the same way that and she happens to use. These are two completely different people, right? This is from that website I showed you, and this is from the people that made this, and she uses the same wording. That's how, people that want to get into computers and stuff, they do the same thing, and the word that it's called, right? This, okay? So you can see why it was called that, okay? Okay, so these here are just, you can see the actual thing that they're trying to prevent or protect against, and then you can see this thing that's given to try to do that. And every time you see this little exclamation mark, you can see that there's a change, okay? So this is the code for the actual thing, and then this is the code for the thing that they're giving. And you can see that there's a change, okay, for each one, okay? So she actually, for this, where there's use, it's really not use. She replaced it with the U instead of this, which it really is, okay? So really, even where there's these U's, there should actually be exclamation marks as well, because that's different, okay? And then after that, this is that code for it. And then the same thing, all of these little letters, okay? Or exclamation marks of what's different, okay? And then at the end, you see all these. So there's just all this different thing. And then they have there's a thing at the end that tells it to stop. Like, our body is very, it is like a machine, it's very complex and complicated. And, all these messages and stuff are sent. And at the very end, there's a message for it to stop. And then, it comes off, and then it does its thing. And then, and so there has to be that message to stop. And that's what they're putting all of these things on here. But it's different. It's not natural, and it's changed, okay? So it causes confusion. Like, so the way that it works, right, is your body normally, like whenever it detects something that isn't good, it will fight it, right, to try to protect you. Well, this actually gives you instruction to make something that isn't good. So your body is making it, and then it realizes once it's made that this isn't good, and then it has to fight it. So it makes it, and then so you're wearing your system out into where, when a real threat comes along, it's weakened. And so this a lot of people have this issue. And you can see, I'm not making anything up. You can, look, these are news articles, okay? And so I'm just reporting news. I'm doing nothing but reporting news here of how it can cause issues. And then this is actually a published case showing this type of storm, and you might want to research that as to what happens. Okay, so it's making, and then it's like getting rid of it, and it's just your body is so confused, like it doesn't, like it's making what it's so. Like when you get a transfusion, right? Like if your body doesn't recognize it, it'll like fight it, right? And it could deny it, right? And that causes a lot of problems. So that's essentially what this is doing, like over and over again. And you end up like doing this, right? Because it's confused. It's in the confusion. So that's the informative part, okay, that I want to do with that. And then I'm going to go, because I'm trying to link this with confusion, and then it's going to take off from there, and it's going to be insanely amazing and also scary at the same time. But I think this information is vital, but this is why I decided to divide it into 2 sections because of the information. Okay, so thank you. Have a good day, and I'll be back in a little bit with part 2.